Hi, Nastasa. How you doing? Good job. Good job. This is good. I think it's very clear. I think the layout is welcoming. I think it's open and airy, and I think you're off to a wonderful start. It's a little boxy towards the bottom, and you alluded to that. So I agree with you there, and we'll talk about that in a second. I think this is an interesting typographic relationship that you've developed between the headline and then the body copy. The one thing I'm noticing is you're not really adhering to a grid, and there's a couple of areas in there that are really indicating that. Let's take a look at those right now. I'm going to Command R this so I can. Well, I have to be an Acrobat first, but I'm going to Command R this so I can bring up some guides. And I just want to say that right now, if we pull a guide on your type, it's well, actually, you are in alignment there. So that's 7, 3.5. That wouldn't be a center line though, so I'm wondering what your grid scheme is. Then you have another seam here, presumably between these two. So that would presumably be some sort of a indication of the width of your grid. Okay. However, would that be 1, 2, see, your grid is funny, and let me tell you why. Let me get rid of these because if you have the grid, I'm having a difficulty following. You've got 1, 2, but this third column isn't following the grid. Okay, so if this is a 3-column grid, it's not working. There'd be 1, 2. This is too small. Then you have this. It's missing up the seam here, so there's no real indication of a grid there. In other words, there's nothing in alignment with the text here. Now, you do have some alignment with the text over here. And I don't know if that just happens to be coincidental, but you have that text in alignment almost with the D and the N. And then the nose of the airplane. Okay. But if that would be the case, then somehow that would be a center line. And we can see that it's not quite. You're about a 1/4 inch away from the 3.5 mark. Again, so I'm doing this to point out that there's what seems to be some inconsistencies in the grid. So think about that. You've got a little bit of encroachment on the bag and the type here. It's a little bit difficult to read. We'll see that at a distance. You can perfectly see in you can even fill in the blanks and say everyday life, but that is really difficult, and that's because that blue is encroaching. I'm sorry, the bag is encroaching on that blue, decreasing the contrast, thereby decreasing the visibility, the readability, and the legibility. Okay, suggestion for that and for the grid. Well, lay a grid on this, figure out what kind of grid you want, and it's just a matter of, if you haven't looked at that how to design using a grid that I left in the announcements, please take a look at it. It'll describe things perfectly, but it'll really, really add some mathematical unity to this piece, and it will pull it together. Another suggestion here is this. See this image right here? It's your primary image. Can we take that image right there and maybe just like show it like this, like an ultra close-up, that big, just portion of it, that portion right there, really huge, so that we really see this portion of the bag, and that's it. So instead of just this little kind of compartment right here that's not really giving the power to the bag that I think we want the bag to have. Seems to me like your backpack's a part of your life. You travel, so let's try to really show that I would suggest doing that. Now, the other thing is that you've mentioned already that the bottom is lacking typographic something. And I agree, it is. Could possibly be that you need to move this type over and align it and then add captions there for all 3 images or 2 images or however image you're going to span that image with once this conforms or conforms to the grid. Okay, these images are good. A little bit boxy down here, as I said. Try to work that out. The background image, it's okay that it's screened back like that, but again, I'm wondering if that's the right solution here. I'm wondering if you don't take your components and try to, because that's pretty important. That is a pretty important part of this whole. What you're doing is you're adding meaning. You're not just saying that the bag's going around your world. You're saying you're going with it. And so I would reconsider screening that back. You got your gear, you got your pack, and you're traveling. You got your dreads. How fun. All right, so you're on the go, and that's the whole thing here. So good job. All right, those would be my recommendations. The plane. Okay, the plane. Again, the plane is ghosted back too. So you're drawing a relationship within plane and a traveler, so that's good. But just don't know about that. Just ghosting back of these images. I don't think it's working. That angle on that plane is really really peculiar. Maybe try to find some other, even a color plane. This looks like too vintage right here because it's in black and white. So you're kind of getting this separation from these vivid colors and then this black and white image that makes it look like it's from, you know, a time past. All right, so anyways, there's my recommendations. Good job, really good job. If you have any questions or if I need to clarify anything, if you need any further recommendations, just please feel free to let me know. Okay, good job, thanks.